Hey guys, my name's Sid. Welcome to another video. Today we have Emkwan with us. We're on Zoom. I've been meaning to get him on one of my videos for a while. He's one of my favorite YouTubers out here in Abu Dhabi. If you guys aren't already subscribed to him, you should go check him out. He makes the most awesome reviews about tech, about cool watches, cars, and other cool stuff. Was an inspiration for me to start this YouTube channel. So I'm so happy to have him on here to talk some tech. Emkwan reviews pretty much everything that comes out. So today we thought we'd talk about a few of the new releases that have recently come out, like the iPhone SE, which I haven't seen in person as yet, but Emkwan's reviewed it already. Maybe talk about the OnePlus 8 Pro and what he thinks about that. Um, and maybe we'll talk about how the iPhone SE compares to some budget Android options that are also available in the market, like the Realme 6 and the Redmi Note 9 Pro, which just came out, and I have a review coming soon. So,
You should have
Emkwan.
given me a heads up so I would have got all the phones ready for you. Yeah.
Do you have
Thank
all
you very
those
much.
phones?
I actually have the iPhone SE here, and I actually have the OnePlus as well. So those are the
Okay.
two that you spoke about. Thank you
Okay.
so much, first of all, for having me, man, because I know we've been discussing about kind of collaborating in some shape, way, or form for a while now.
So let's get into the iPhone SE. I love my Apple stuff. But for me personally, the iPhone SE was kind of like a boring release. It seems like they just put the iPhone 11's internal processor. As far as I know, the camera module is the same as that on the iPhone 8 and are
Correct, yeah.
interchangeable. But due to computational stuff on the A13, they're able to push the photography. So, what's your experience with the iPhone SE been?
So it's really weird because you say that it was a bit of a boring release. Like I remember when they announced it, I was kind of like, honestly, I wasn't even going to cover it. I mean, I cover sort of, let's say, mid-range, low-range smartphones as well. But the iPhone SE for me was never a product that I would have covered before the original SE.
Mm-hmm.
But I was really surprised at DMs that were coming in. I was surprised that the Insta stories. I think I posted a few Insta stories up.
Mm-hmm.
Like people were like, "Oh my days!" Like the iPhone SE, and I was really surprised and taken back about that because I think I mentioned that in my review on the channel that it's not necessarily an iPhone that's supposed to appeal to the people that are into tech
Like us.
or the guys, yeah, like us, or the people that are interested in specs.
Right.
But what this has done, and this is based off people that I've spoken to, the people that I know, and also, comments and some of the demographics that I'm picking up on, the comments that are left on my videos, the discussions that I'm having on my social media platforms, is that the iPhone SE gives those people who have an older iPhone the chance to upgrade for a really small amount
Yeah.
of money, relatively speaking, within the
Mm.
iOS,
Yeah.
kind of ecosystem. I mean, 399, even in this part of the world, it's insane. I've had 3 people message me saying to me, Emkwan, when this whole COVID thing is over and you come over to the UK, can you bring some iPhone SEs with you? Because it's actually cheaper here in the UAE, even minus FaceTime,
Okay.
than it is in the UK. I mean, it's a really good price. It's actually less than what it's being charged in the UK for. So those individuals are people that just want a smartphone. They're the kind of people who don't want and don't need a smartphone that has the bells and whistles. So for
Right.
them, this iPhone is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, I mean, one person who's asked me for one hates Face ID. Like
Okay.
he said to me, like, as long as I can, I want to stick with Touch ID. It makes more sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this iPhone is appealing to different people. The other group is made up of a group of people who have always been Android.
Right.
They've never had the means to, let's say, get an iPhone because it goes against their kind of, why would I pay that much more money?
The value
Where's the specs
proposition.
coming from? The value proposition has never been there. But with the iPhone SE now, it's like, dude, that's basically my burner phone now.
Yeah.
It's allowing me now to get a feel for what this is, what's all the hype about, And the thing is, it's not buying an older iPhone, even though, yes, you're right.
Hmm.
Appearance wise, the camera module, it's an iPhone 8 essentially, right?
Yeah.
But it's that psyche is not there. The psyche is that, well, I'm getting a brand new iPhone,
Hmm.
2020 iPhone, that's, yes, cheaper, but it's got the same chip as the iPhone 11 Pro, for example. And it gives
Yeah.
me the opportunity to kind of see what the fuss is about iOS and the iPhone. And then maybe I might say bye bye to Android,
Right.
or I might be like, I've done this, it wasn't really worth it. Khalas, I love this even more, my Android phone, for example.
True. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think the iPhone SE is going to be a huge seller for Apple because most people probably have a operating system allegiance by now. So they're either
Yeah.
Team Android, Team Apple. And if you're Team Apple, majority of the world's probably going to go into the Apple store or wherever they buy their iPhone from and say, "What's the cheapest iPhone right now?" And they see that iPhone SE for $400. I mean, that's a really good deal. And to get an iPhone for $400, which is the latest iPhone with the latest chip, I mean, that phone's going to probably last you for 4 or 5 years with software updates and everything. They're going to continue to support it. So I do think it's cool, but I also think it's a pretty boring product from Apple.
A few people have mentioned the display, for example. I mean, could they
Mm.
not have, got, why put the bezels in there? Issues about, like, for example, even the hardware element of it, it still looks very similar to an older iPhone 8.
Yeah,
Unbox Therapy mentioned this. Couldn't the engineers
yeah.
have been taken out of the room and said, hey, look, design something for a smaller, cheaper phone? I think those are valid points, but part of being in the tech community is that we view things in a completely different way
That's true.
to what the market does. And if it wasn't viable for Apple to do this, trust me, Apple, out of all of the companies, would not be putting out this phone.
Yeah.
So I think, and this is what I mean. I mean, like when I did the review, I was, even now, I'm genuinely shocked because I get messages, dude, should I buy the iPhone SE? I was like, this is so weird. Like, y- it looks old. It's got the thick bezel. It's not like we've never seen this phone before, but
Yeah.
why are you asking me to buy this? Oh, because I want to, I want to experiment with iOS. I've always had an Android. It's like,
Right.
okay, this is interesting.
I think
So
it's going to
yeah,
be huge in India, by the way, because in India, smartphone market is very price conscious, and there
yeah,
are a lot of good Android options out there which are reasonably priced, like the Realme 6 and the Redmi Note 9 Pro. They've newly launched phones. They're giving you amazing
yeah.
design, hole punch cameras, quad camera setups and all of them, 64 megapixel cameras, like insane stuff at half the price that the iPhone SE is.
Of what the iPhone SE is doing.
So
Yeah. I mean, the Realme 6 I reviewed recently as well. It's an amazing phone for that price point. It's ridiculous.
yeah,
Like, one wonders how they're even making a profit on that.
yeah,
But I think here's the thing, like, I mean, I cover iOS, I cover Android smartphones. One of the things that I've noticed with Android smartphones is it's always, by default, it's the specs. It's
mhm,
always that discussion. Whereas with Apple and iOS, like, specs isn't discussed in the way that Android smartphones are.
yeah,
It's always kind of like, it's a really weird thing because I think a lot of companies would ideally wish that it wasn't, even in the Android smartphone sphere,
mhm,
would wish that it wasn't always about specs. It would be more about the user experience,
right,
the operating system, the ease of use, all this kind of stuff, which the iPhone seems to, the marketing jargon, even the association in most people's minds about an iPhone, they never discuss even the battery capacity of this. They
yeah,
always, like, when you get the Realme 6, oh, does it, yeah, does the MediaTek chip heat up, or does it, is it like,
yeah,
it's all spec, spec, spec. With the iPhone, it's like, is it easy to use that screen in 2020? It's less
yeah,
about specs and it's more about, am I going to get the best user experience sort of thing. The one category of smartphones that I really get excited about are not the
mhm,
flagships. They're the mid-range smartphones. They're the budget-friendly smartphones. When they come through the door, it's like, you unbox it. You're like, those are the
yeah,
ones I really have fun setting up on. And sometimes what I do is I actually unbox it before the actual unboxing because, like, I want to see, like, can this
yeah,
Realme 6 really like spec wise, is it really offering that much, you know?
Yeah.
And you're right, quad cameras, you know, displays with pretty much a full display with punch hole designs or smaller notches. Yeah,
Yeah. Same here, man. This thing is available at this price point. Like the price
yeah,
point is what makes it interesting. Because
yeah,
the
exactly.
because for me, if I'm going that flagship, I'd rather just stay with my iPhone, you know. And the performance and everything is amazing on these phones.
Yeah,
So speaking of performance, you've got the current fastest phone, which is the OnePlus 8 Pro.
yeah, OnePlus 8 Pro. Yeah, I've been playing
So
around with this.
so I've never
It's
actually used a OnePlus phone myself, but I've
okay.
heard their emphasis is all on performance and speed.
Performance, speed, everything down to the OS level of it, the element of it. I'm just powering it on now. This
Hmm.
phone is, I mean, it's been a nice experience so far using it. Uh, I mean, I've reviewed OnePlus devices before. I love the way that, like, for me, if there was a company that kind of like Google would buy out for
Hmm.
their smartphones, like people, you know, used to talk about HTC and the rest of it. They've already done that, but it would be
Right.
OnePlus because I feel like everything with their devices is really well done for an Android
Yeah.
smartphone. You know, particularly a Google GMS services, Google Apps, the rest of it being on this device. It's
Hmm.
really, really smooth. A couple of things that really stand out for me are, I think, the display. Like, you know, once you start using 120 hertz displays,
Yeah.
it makes no real difference per se. Now, this is where we start going into like the user experience element of it.
Yeah.
Once you go down to a display that's not 120 hertz, it's kind of a really weird
Yeah.
feeling, you know? Kind of, it almost feels like a a slightly vintage watch and then a new watch. You know, the new watch is just constantly flashy and shiny and this, that, the other. And I
Yeah.
feel that way once you've used this display and then you go down to a non 120 hertz display, you feel that vibe.
Yeah,
The
it's weird.
camera on this is, yeah, yeah,
I have a Realme X2 Pro as well on this, which is a OLED 90 hertz display.
yeah,
And when I use that for a while and then I go back to my iPhone 11 Pro, I do feel it. Like there is,
yeah.
even from 90 hertz to 60 hertz, you feel it.
So imagine going from 120 hertz to
Yeah.
60.
Yeah.
The camera on this it's been interesting because I expected better results on the camera.
Okay.
I remember watching the keynote and getting like super excited. I was like, dude, this is just insane. But I don't know. I feel like I hope I'm wrong about this. Like, I hope that it feels a bit like the Samsung S20
Okay.
Ultra debacle with the camera. Ultra wide is good, you know, 1x is good, but the moment you start zooming in, this is 30x zoom, it's just so grainy, so
Yeah.
poor. I think I might have put up some Insta stories on my Instagram. It's actually as highlights on my profile. So if you want to go and check them out, you can see some of the examples. I did an
Okay.
ultra wide. I did, I think, 1x, maybe 5 or 10x, and then 30x. 30x is just, it's horrendous, man. I've seen actually better zoom on some other smartphones than I have done on the OnePlus 8 Pro,
Okay.
which is a little disappointing. Same with the S20 Ultra. When I handled one and I started playing around with it, like it was a bit disappointing, you know, like you've got this massive 100x zoom plastered right on the back.
Yeah.
And then the 100x zoom is so disappointing. Like, you know,
Yeah.
even with a tripod, because I experimented with a tripod as well. And I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it, you know?
I feel it's a gimmick though, man. I mean, all
It's a
these
complete gimmick. It
30x,
is. Yeah.
100x.
The
So the
the guys
5x
that
I've
do
seen
it,
is decent.
yeah, the guys that do it well
Hmm.
are Huawei.
Okay.
And their zoom is like, out of all of the smartphones that I've reviewed, Huawei, when it comes to zoom, really does a good job.
Okay.
Again, the zoom, you know, it's still grainy at, you know, 50x on the Mate 20 Pro or 30x on the P40 Pro. It's still slightly grainy, but it's much better than what I've seen on the OnePlus
Right.
and on the Samsung S20 Ultra.
Another thing I wanted to talk to you about is foldable phones. So I know you've had access to a couple of foldables. I've personally
This is
handled.
this is my drawer, and I'm kind of like pulling. I haven't got a Mate X in here, but there's the Samsung Galaxy Fold.
Okay. So the only
Yeah,
foldable that I personally handled was a Samsung Fold, and it was just for like a few minutes. But I've
yeah.
not really experienced using one for like a full day. What do you think of the Samsung Fold? When it was first announced, I was super tempted to get it, and then I had almost placed my pre-order, and then when I heard about
Yeah.
the issues with the durability and all that, I changed my mind. So what do you think of the Fold?
Look, I think folding smartphones, we're at this tipping point now when it comes to smartphone fatigue. Like everybody, wants a new smartphone that's going to do something amazing. And
Right.
I think prior to the Samsung Galaxy Fold, it just felt like everyone,
Yeah.
were like, come on, man, like when's the next new phone coming out that's actually going to be really cool or
Different.
do something different?
Yeah.
And I think, credit where credit is due. I think Samsung had a rough time with the Samsung Galaxy Fold, but you you have to sort of praise them for taking that risk,
Yeah.
because the Samsung Galaxy Fold is a very, very different experience. When you use this device, it is a very, very different experience to using any other smartphone. I
Okay.
think the Samsung Galaxy Fold and the Huawei Mate X, or well, it's the Mate X and the Mate XS now.
Hmm.
I mean, both of those devices are really different. Even there have been occasions when I've been out and about. I went to the ADNOC, I remember, and I was using the Fold that day, and I pulled it out to check something, and it was just like it was a immediate conversation started. Like two people around me, three people around me, like, dude, this is a
Right.
folding smartphone. It's still incredibly like wow. That whole
Yeah.
opening it out and doing it.
It kind of
It's a good phone.
reminds me of the old school Nokia communicators.
Yeah, do you
You
remember?
know,
Yeah, you'd
yeah,
open it out and like you'd feel
yeah,
like some kind of James Bond dude like
yeah,
typing a
exactly.
message when you just sending your mom a message.
Yeah.
Like the Fold is not a device that I don't think it's a public consumption kind of device. I think it's great for techies. I think it's great for people that want to have it, but also know the situation with it because it's
Mhm.
a great way of helping Samsung develop version 2, version 3, whatever it's going to
Right.
be. Um, I mean, my device has been pretty good. I haven't had any issues, but then I don't have long nails, and I haven't been babying this, but I've been careful with it. So like my
Hmm.
kids would never be allowed to touch this. They can touch any of the other phones, but this one is an absolute no go.
Okay.
My wife was using it one time, and I remember she has slightly longer nails, and I remember kind of like seeing this moment when she was about to go through the screen. I kind of like was like, nah, just be careful.
Does
Um,
it seem like it would scratch easily?
it does. I mean, I haven't had any scratches on my display. Somebody
Hmm.
was asking me this the other day, and they said, "Look carefully. Can you see any scratches?" I haven't seen any scratches on my
Hmm.
display. The flex is there. I mean, look, you can even see it when it's turned off.
Yeah.
It's got a fair bit of flex, but really, when you're using it, that's a no-brainer, no issue.
Okay.
My biggest issue with this is the front screen on the Samsung Galaxy Fold. It's kind of,
Small.
and I've said this in on social media. It's basically it's like I'd say like a pager
Okay.
that you open up into a smartphone, whereas the Huawei Mate X is a smartphone that you open up into a tablet. I
Right.
mean, the differences between the two of them. Yes, the Mate X and the XS is gonna end up having another issue,
Hmm.
which is that the screen folds outward, and I don't know how that is going to be long term
Okay.
in terms of use and scratches and the rest of it. But it has a better form function and usability element on that device. Yeah,
So you've had hands-on with the Mate XS, right? I think that's one of your most popular videos.
yeah.
And
That's I think the most popular video. Yeah,
how did it feel in the hand?
it's a good device. I mean, it's a nice device, and I think that was actually my first folding device that I handled because at that point the Galaxy wasn't out yet. I mean, it was shown off, but it was
Mhm.
behind like glass and
Yeah.
security and the rest of it. So when I managed to get my hands on it, the Huawei Mate XS seemed much more practical. I was critical when I walked into the room. The
Mhm.
Huawei guys were like, "Oh, it's amazing thing," and I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Let me get the content and kind of like let's do this quick." And then when I sat down and they gave it to me, I was like, dude, what the hell is this? Like,
Yeah.
this is different, man. And
Yeah.
I think the whole thing is the point about it being like, it is it's like a fully fledged smartphone.
Hmm.
And then when you click that button, it opens up into a tablet. That's the thing that I was like, and then they showed me YouTube on there. And I was like, dude, this, like, you
Hmm.
need to get me one, man. Like,
And
I want one of
how is
these, you know.
the flex on that one?
The Flex is, I would say, more than the Samsung Galaxy Fold.
Okay.
I again, unfortunately, I haven't had one for long enough for me to really, really, really kind of. I've had it for about a week, 2 weeks.
Okay.
You really need longer, and you need a situation scenario where you're really kind of it's being used and put in bags, put in pockets.
Right.
Situation, when you're out and about, you're grabbing some food, and you're trying to deal with a message. That's when you really can tell
Right.
durability of a screen and a device like that. But I'm excited to see version 2 from both
All these
companies because I
companies.
think
Yeah.
that's really going to be refined.
Last thing before we end this, I want to talk to you about what do you think the iPhone 12 is going to offer?
Again, I kind of feel sorry for the guys at Apple because I feel like Apple is that company that we expect so much from.
Right.
And I've been covering smartphones for years now, and you do this as well, so you'll know that I think those changes now. I mean, like I think people expect this massive jump, but we've just reached this plateau. It's the curve is flattened, if you like, when it comes to smartphones, and that happened before COVID-19. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think the iPhone is just gonna. I think we are probably gonna get the setup in terms of the camera that we've seen on the iPad Pro, with that
The
inclusion
AR
of
camera, the lidar.
the leader, yeah, the lidar
Mm.
camera. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I have the iPad Pro with the lidar camera. I've actually made a conscious decision to try and understand it, to use it, and it's
Mm.
great in some scenarios and some situations. But like, it's for mass consumption, it's just not there.
It's
So
a basic
I
feature.
don't know. Yeah, it's kind of like. I mean, I'm sure we'll see camera improvements
Hmm.
on the iPhone 12. For me, as someone that uses the iPhone 11 Pro, I think the biggest change for me would be just improving the quality now of the camera in terms
Yeah.
of the lens, the pixels, so that we get better shots
Yeah.
daylight, but also more importantly in nighttime. I mean, that's I think the 11 Pro really, and this is the thing about Apple. They're going to kind of release this minor jump now,
Hmm.
and that is just enough to kind of you'll think about the scenario when Tim Cook gets on stage. You'll be like, I need that because I'm gonna be out.
Yeah.
When I'm gonna be taking photos, and it's just that kind of small jump. I think the hardware is going to change as well. I think it's going to look more like the iPad Pro. I would like that, to be honest. I actually
Mhm.
don't like the design now of the iPhone 11
So the
Pro. The more that
flat sides.
yeah, I mean, the iPad
The
Pro, I think, is the most beautiful,
Yeah.
most kind of industrial product that Apple have released in a while now. So it would be great to
Yeah.
see that come to the iPhone.
So as far as I know, the rumors are saying slightly smaller notch. You're gonna have the new industrial design, which is the same as the iPad Pro, LiDAR sensor,
Mm.
and maybe 90 hertz display or a 120 hertz display. Would you like to see that in an iPhone? I would, man.
I would, yeah. I think the display, that was the other point. Yeah, I think the display needs a notch up, or
Yeah.
well, it needs kind of like a bump up and that notch to kind of be changed. I think the iPhone has got that hallmark style and design.
Yeah.
And I don't think Apple are gonna just drop the notch. So they'll probably minimize it, and it'll be
Make it
like
smaller. Yeah, that's
30%.
yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll do that. But that is quintessentially an iPhone, and I think they've kind of embraced that design language, and they're going to stick with it for a while, I think.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I'm hoping Apple releases a new iMac this year, maybe a redesign or something.
that would
'Cause
be
I'm
nice as
iMac.
well, man. That would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. 2020 has really been a strange year, to be honest. I mean, like, you know, I, since I've been in lockdown, it's been really weird because a part of me has been getting all these different, tech devices to cover it, and I feel really weird because it's like a part of me feels like, are we really still selling in this environment situation? Like, how is that even happening? How is Apple still manufacturing the iPhone SE, for example? Like, where are they
Yeah.
doing this?
We probably
since China's in
manufactured it
lockdown.
months ago, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, Tim Cook is the genius when it comes to like logistics. So
Yeah.
yeah, they would have had this covered. But let's see, man. 2020, the rest of 2020 should be interesting for.
All right. Cheers, dude. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
being on the YouTube channel and collaborating on this. By the way, we just also filmed and recorded an episode of the Startup Hustle Middle East podcast with Emkwan. So if you want to hear about Emkwan's journey on YouTube and how he hit 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and some of the things he did on his journey, go check out the episode. I will leave a link for that in the description as well. Peace and blessings.
Peace and blessings, man. Thank you.
All right, cheers.